Hello everybody, MegaZardX here, back at it again to give you another very exciting video. And for today's video, I wanted to go through and talk about that most recent state of play that happened to transpire last week though, because there were some good announcements up in there and there were some shakier kind of bits and stuff though. But I would say overall as a collective whole, that might have been one of Sony's better state of play presentations in recent memory, since they probably had started off this whole entire thing though. So I just want to kind of go through. I'm not going to talk about every single announcement, but I want to talk about probably the most notable ones, or at least ones that kind of stood out in my honest opinion. And then just talking about the overall presentation, how it kind of started, the midway points, some of them low points, the high points, obviously towards the very end. I definitely got to talk about that and everything else in between those. So we might as well go ahead and jump up in it though. So if you hadn't already done so, make sure you're going to hit that like button, go ahead and hit the subscribe button and that bell to stay up to date on all things video game related I feel like talking about and discussing. But without any further ado, let's go ahead and jump straight up into this video. All right, so in order for them to kick off this presentation, I loved, and I really do appreciate this, I love how they started it off with Astrobot, the PlayStation studio, Astro running out on the field though. Like, that's a mascot taking charge right there. Like, I'm telling you, if Sony does not start this motion with Astro and they drop the ball with this, I just honestly don't understand what they're doing. You have so many crossovers. He's a lovable character, just like Mario and stuff like that. Needs to be your bread and butter moving from this point forward, though. But anyway, I love to see it though. And they came out the gate with 5 new speedrun levels and 10 new bots to rescue though. So if you manage to get that platinum trophy, hey, there's still a little bit more that you can be able to do up in here though. They did say all of this is going to be free of charge. It's not going to be paid DLC. Even though if it would have been paid DLC, I probably would have forked up the money and still would have gotten it along with my good buddy Steven as well though. But you are able to pick up all of this, and it is slated to come out in the fall. They said that's just a little glimpse of what you can expect, which kind of leads me in the hopes of, hey, we might be getting even more updates for this game as time happens to pass on though. So that's really cool right there though. And then obviously after that, you got some weird other announcements, like, oh gosh, like Hell Is Us, like what is this? Like, that thing looked like a white nobody. I don't know. Outside of that, I was like, yeah, that that one definitely didn't do anything for me though. And then you had other titles like Archage Chronicles coming out in 2025. I was like, okay. I mean, those look like typical games you would play on the PlayStation. But Power World, though, that was not on my bingo card for the state of play. Like, the fact that literally that was shadow drop in the presentation, I was like, that is nuts. Now obviously we know at this point it was still technically in beta and it was available via like Steam on PC as well as like Xbox consoles, and now it's finally jumping over to PlayStation. New PlayStation wanted to get that piece of pie, but the timing around all of this is probably the craziest thing about this mess, because of the fact that we know that Nintendo as well as the Pokemon company are actually going through process of actually suing Power World for copyright infringement, maybe based upon some of their patents and anything else that they happen to be digging around, at least for those ninjas and the suits and stuff though. So it's crazy how they managed to announce this. Put a little asterisk on this thing, because apparently this is not dropping out in Japan when everything else was dropping for like us getting it over here in America, people getting it in Europe, and everything else in between. That's a little interesting how they're not dropping that out in Japan. We all know Japan's the headquarters of Nintendo, the Pokemon company, all of that. I wonder if a little bit is playing up into that. I'm just throwing out a little seed, just have y'all thinking in the background now. But then it came out with some classic games that released on the original PS1, which, for the 30th anniversary thing, it's like, oh, that's kind of nice, even though they're not first party, but they're well known, beloved third party games. So I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. One of them was Lunar Remaster Collection announced. Now, Sonic Q, my good friend, he pointed out that said he started on this, never finished it, but he really enjoyed his time with it though. So I can always appreciate a good remaster of a good RPG. I'm a RPG enthusiast though. That's like one of my bread and butter series right there. So I really did like and appreciate that. And it is coming out in spring 2025. Then it managed to hit us with some Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge DLC, which purchased some of this DLC in the past. Still hadn't gotten around to it. They keep adding more stuff up in it, a lot more than what I originally thought. And I thought, at least what they originally said when they dropped this game out, is They weren't originally planning it, and then obviously they just came back and added more stuff to it. So I was like, you know what, more power to y'all. I love all the extra effort they've been putting in the game. Then this next one caught me by surprise: the Sonic the Hedgehog 3 movie pack for Sonic X Shadows Generations. At first, when I saw this trailer, I was literally thinking that this was gonna be oh gosh, like a Sonic Adventure 2 remake, remaster, or something like that. Like it kind of gave me those vibes of like when Sonic and Shadow kind of met with each other off of like that Great City Escape level, like right after that, right before you do that first boss encounter in the hero route. I was literally almost getting those kind of vibes, but then the fact that they came out and say, yeah, Keanu Reeves is going to be voicing Shadow in like one of these special episodes for Sonic X Shadow Generations, I was like, dang, they're literally taking that movie, the game route right there, where they're using the movie to help advertise the game and the game to advertise the movie. I was like, that's pretty clever though. It kind of is making me want to push and get this thing on day one, which originally I wasn't planning on it, but I was like, all right, whatever though. But yeah, definitely looking forward to that game whenever it drops out, literally in the month of October. Like we're only like a few weeks away from it now. Then you had some other games on here, like okay, I gotta talk about this. Dragon Age the Veilguard. It comes out on October 31st. This is where I felt like the presentation definitely had its lower point. Like I feel like it was properly paced for the most part, but this was definitely one of the lowest things. Like, yeah, I mean, I see you're trying to push this game for him though, that maybe paid like a pretty penny to get up in the show. But like, we got to keep this train rolling and moving though. Like, come on, like, why? This thing should have been like at max like 2 minutes long, and anything longer than that, that was just way too long. And I feel like that literally just outstayed its welcome. I was like, okay, no. Then you have some Alan Wake 2 stuff, The Lake House, that's coming out in October and stuff, all nice stuff. They did manage to have a decent bit of PSVR 2 games. I didn't mention all of them, but like one of them is going to be Hitman. A lot more PSVR 2 titles that I thought would have probably been announced in a state of play. And they didn't actually specify in the lead up to this presentation, like how long the show was going to be, or if it was PS5 games or PSVR 2 games. So they kind of just snuck in a few of those VR related titles up in here now. And I keep scrolling through this list. I mean, that Lego Fortnite controller, looks kind of okay. I don't think Steven will get it though. They did manage to announce Dynasty Warriors. That's coming out on January 17th. I think we already kind of knew that this game was in the works though, but I'm never a fan of the Dynasty Warriors series unless it's like a collab with Fire Emblem or The Legend of Zelda. Like, I don't know. Stuff like that just doesn't really do it for me. Then you have Monster Hunter Wilds. We actually managed to get a release date for this game. It is coming out on February the 28th of next year. I had a feeling it was going to be definitely in the first half of next year, probably within the first 3 months. Like I was thinking March, and I was thinking that even when I was watching the show, and then they hit us with February 28th. I was like, oh, okay, basically almost March at that point, last day of the month. But I was like, okay, we've seen this game quite a bit. I was like, they're showing it off quite confidently. So I was like, it's only a matter of time, and now we got the release date though, so that's some cool beans right there. Then we started to get a little closer into some of the first party realm. They had to showcase off Lego Horizons Adventures and stuff, literally coming out on my birthday. I'm not getting that game. Interestingly enough, they weren't going to put the Nintendo Switch logo up in their presentation though, but it is coming out on Switch as well. Obviously PS5 and PC as well. And they literally rolled straight from that announcement to the Horizon Zero Dawn remaster, which, Sony can't hold their water for anything really. Like this was no secret to almost anybody out there that was looking through and browsing through social media in general though. Like everybody and their mama knew that this mess was coming. And I felt like this was like one of those games where it's like it didn't necessarily really need a remaster, but at the same point, I could see why they're trying to push this Horizon IP to its limits and even going further beyond, like with the Lego collaborations and stuff like that. Like they're really trying to push this thing to the next level though. You don't have to wait too much longer for this remaster because it's literally coming out on Halloween Day on October 31st. So literally like almost about less than a month now we got to wait for this game to come out though. However, interestingly enough, thought they weren't going to do no upgrade plan. I felt like that era was kind of dumb for Sony though. But however, if you happen to own Horizon Zero Dawn any edition before that, you can pay $10 to get the upgrade thing, which it's been a hot minute since they managed to do that with any one of their games. But you know what, it's kind of cool. I mean, I have Horizon Zero Dawn on my PS5. I never got around to it. If I want to take advantage of it, I could. Doesn't necessarily mean I will, but that's an option now. Then of course we had an update for Stellar Blade, and this was kind of cool. You got a little crossover with Nier Automata DLC coming out in 2024. So I was like, you know what? Looking at both those two characters, they're feminine. They're women, nice looking women. I was like, okay, I could see the partnership. I could see the relationship from a mile away. That perfectly seems to fit. Of course, you got Dino Crisis as part of the PlayStation Plus catalog update thing. Though that's the only way you're getting Dino Crisis. And then we start getting into a little bit of the hardware side of things. Obviously, you got some brand new flashy colors for the PS5, like I guess the physical or basically the new SKU of the baseline PS5. Or you got the digital, or you got the detachable disc drive up on top of it. You have a pearl, a teal, and an indigo color, the rep right there, though. If I had to pick between the three of them, pearl looks kind of nice, but that looks like, oh, it can get dirty kind of quick, though. So maybe that indigo would have been more my taste, though. But yeah, if you got a baseline PS5 like me, forget you. You ain't getting no new updates unless you're just buying the controllers and stuff like that. Then, of course, you had Mark Cerny come out on the stage and he had to talk about the PS5 Pro. So then, this is another big talking point, at least in this presentation. And obviously, he came out reminding all of us we had that technical showcase about a week or two ago or so. And he was talking about, hey, we managed to announce the newest member of the family, the PS5 Pro. And we already talked about some games that were going to get some of those upgrades. Now, here's the good look of them. And I'm kind of curious, why did they hold off on some of these games? They could have showcased it off in that presentation, which might have eased some of the blow from the PS5 Pro. I'm not saying it would have eased all of it, but it probably would have eased a good, decent chunk of it, though. So I'm like, okay. Like, obviously, we have Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Horizon Forbidden West, Gran Turismo 7, Stellar Blade, Dragon's Dogma 2, Jedi Survivor, Snake Eater Delta, which obviously that's a game that hasn't came out yet, but it will in the future. So that'll get some PS5 Pro enhancements right there, though. Resident Evil Village, Resident Evil 4, Spider-Man 2, and Assassin's Creed Shadows, and obviously there's going to be some more featured as well, though. So yeah, that was just kind of a list of some games that are going to be PS5 Pro enhanced, though. But one of the key things Mark Cerny said in that little bit of a spiel before they showcased off all those games was some games that also haven't been announced, or some things that we didn't quite know about yet. And this is where it all comes down to the stinger on this presentation, because I was just thinking in the back of my mind, how the heck are they going to end off this state of play? Like, how are you going to leave me with something impactful, something to allow me to, take away from the presentation, though? And oh, shoot, they done did it. I looked at that black and white background when it first started up, and I was like, nah, this can't be it. Sucker Punch, did you actually show up for this mess? Did you bring my boy Ghost of Tsushima 2 out here on the playing field? And yes, by golly, they heard me out. I felt like it was going to be like a 1% chance of that mess ever happening in this state of play. I had a good feeling it could come up in the year of 2025, but I felt like they would have saved that towards like a first of the year state of play to kind of reveal to be released close around holiday season of 2025. But nah, man, they set that mess up. And literally, even though I thought the game was going to be called Ghost of Tsushima 2, I guess Ghost is the branding of this series moving forward, though. It is called Ghost of Yotei. So that is the name of the title for the next Ghost game in the series, though. And it seems like we're going to be using a wholly new, different character in this story, at least from what I'm seeing, because the person in here isn't the character that we were playing as originally within Ghost of Tsushima, which, obviously I really did like his character and stuff, but if you kind of want to expand upon the lore and stuff of what's kind of going on over there in Japan and stuff, it kind of makes sense that you want to kind of build up another character, because I feel like if our original character from Ghost of Tsushima is actually in this game, he might be off the rails. He might need to be putting down, like a rabid dog. He might need to be putting down, even though, like, yes, I know he gone through some mess. I love every story beat along the way, though, but like man, that dude might need to get hunted. I don't know if he's gonna make an appearance or whatnot, though, but I feel like he probably will somehow. But regardless, whether or not that happens or not, I love the fact that Sucker Punch has finally announced their game officially for it to be the sequel to Ghost of Tsushima. And man, oh man, that thing is a art of beauty right there. Even just watching all those different horses and stuff racing across the field and such, I was like, yes, give me more of that, Sony. Give me more of that. I was like, you can't end off that state of play any better than that. So overall, if I were to give that state of play a letter grade, I honestly would give them probably a B minus. I mean, it probably wouldn't have been anywhere on the level of B if Ghost of Tsushima, the sequel of it, which now we know is Ghost of Yote, that hadn't been announced, then it probably would have been like a C. I don't know if it would have got quite down to a D though, but overall, that was probably one of their better state of plays in most recent memory, at least for me personally, though. A lot of that bias might have been around the new Ghost game, but hey, I mean, you know, this is my video. I'm gonna I'm gonna take a W for Sony when I can, because this roller coaster that Sony has been on recently with the, oh man, they're dead, oh they're so back, they're dead, they're so back, between Concord stuff, Astro Bot, and the PlayStation 30th anniversary, then the PS5 Pro debacle, and now the ending of this state of play. Like, man, they've been all over the place for at least the past like 6 or so weeks. Like, it's been ridiculous though. But y'all gotta let me know down in the comment section down below what all do you think about this presentation. I thought it was a pretty good one. I thought it was pretty balanced. Yes, there were some little low points throughout this presentation, but I felt like it was definitely balanced. It was a little bit more snappy outside of that one exception of that game I talked about in the middle of the presentation. But I feel like this new streamlined format is going to do wonders for them. And who knows, maybe Sony is starting to wake up in 2025. If we manage to get that and maybe a Venom game or something like that, maybe they pull something else out like another Helldivers or something like that, something that's just off the wall and it happens to be really successful. But then again, there's always a chance that another Concord 2 could show up. I mean, who's to say though? This is Sony at the end of the day though. But yeah, so that's going to do it in terms of this video right here. So if you really like this, make sure you're going to hit that like button, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and that bell to stay up to date on all things video game related I feel like talking about and discussing. So remember y'all, until our video I make next, see y'all.